It's been revealed that Prince Andrew hosted the late ex-offender Jeffrey Epstein as well as Ghislaine Maxwell and Harvey Weinstein at the Royal Lodge, the publicly owned home where he effectively lives rent-free after he paid for its renovation.
Today, we are diving into the latest twist in the ongoing saga of Sarah Ferguson and Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. And let me tell you, it is messy, dramatic and escalating by the week. Fresh reports claim Sarah Ferguson is preparing to flee the United Kingdom entirely, not for a quiet holiday, not for a break, but for what sources describe as a strategic exit, a long-term escape plan. The reports indicate she is not fleeing to Abu Dhabi. Instead, she's looking at a permanent relocation to Portugal, where Princess Eugenie and Jack Brooksbank reportedly own a £3.6 million oceanfront villa. At the same time, Andrew is still engulfed in the fallout from the Epstein scandal, ongoing scrutiny from the United States, and the crushing reality that he is being removed from Royal Lodge. New insider leaks say the former couple are finally parting ways for good, and for Sarah, that may mean homelessness, reputational ruin, and a desperate grab for reinvention. Strap in, there is a lot to unpack.
More they can do, because of course this process started under Queen Elizabeth, as we know, when she eventually, reluctantly, but she did so, stripped Andrew of his HRH status and his public duties, and effectively he was a pariah publicly anyway. It would have been impossible for him to conduct royal duties on behalf of the family.
According to multiple sources inside the Costa Terra Golf and Ocean Club, staff have been getting a guest suite ready for Sarah Ferguson, reportedly for a January arrival. This is a luxury compound along the southern Atlantic coast, a short drive from Lisbon. It is heavily gated, extremely private, and full of celebrities who have bought up properties to escape press attention. We are talking Madonna, Scarlett Johansson, Alicia Vikander, Michael Fassbender, and Nicole Kidman, who has reportedly applied for Portuguese residency. Residents say the word is spreading that Sarah could be arriving within weeks, possibly for an extended stay. One neighbour told reporters, "The word here is that Fergie will be arriving sometime in January. How long she stays is anyone's guess, but she will fit into the social scene. This is not a weekend break. This is not a girls' trip. This is an exile." Let's talk about the real reason she is packing her bags for Portugal.
This new deal is being sold as a royal trade-off of sorts after weeks of mounting speculation and criticism over whether Prince Andrew would be evicted from Royal Lodge. It seems he's ultimately found a way out, but on his terms, as widely splashed across British tabloids today.
Sarah and Andrew are being pushed out of Royal Lodge, their sprawling Windsor home where they have lived together for 17 years, despite divorcing back in the 90s. King Charles has made it clear they are out. Andrew will move alone to a smaller property on the Sandringham estate. Sarah will not. Palace insiders say there is no plan, no cottage, no annex, not even a grace and favour option for her. She has been told she must make her own arrangements. That means she is, quite literally, about to be homeless. Sources close to the situation say the impending split from Andrew is real, final, and emotionally brutal. After almost 2 decades of living as unofficial partners, the marriage may not have survived the 90s, but the cohabitation did. Now, even that is over.
Sarah Ferguson, she's like a lot more of his friends. They're all running scared, they're all running away. Our daughter suffered 14 years of physical and mental abuse by a similar man who's now in prison.
Sarah's problems did not begin at Royal Lodge. They began long ago after decades of scandal. But things escalated the moment a leaked email surfaced in which she referred to Jeffrey Epstein as a supreme friend. That email blew up her already fragile reputation. Every charity role she held was wiped out. She was removed as an ambassador for the British Heart Foundation, and several other organisations quietly cut ties. American investigators in Congress have recently revived the Epstein inquiry. New subpoenas, new pressure, and new interest in every person who benefited from Epstein's connections. Andrew is obviously at the centre, but Sarah is suddenly back on the radar as well. A US-based source familiar with the Costa Terra resort said, "It is a perfect place for Fergie to hide out while the Epstein affair continues to rumble on in Congress. She will be among family and friends and far from the hostile atmosphere in England."
Well, this image shows them all at birthday celebrations at the mansion in 2006. Now, that was just 2 months after a US arrest warrant was issued for Epstein for the sexual assault of a minor, and Epstein was then arrested by police in Florida.
In other words, Portugal is not just a sunny destination, it is a shield. The backlash has been dramatic. Sarah was quietly dropped from ITV's Loose Women, where she was previously welcomed as a friendly, lively guest. Producers have made no secret that they do not want to deal with the storm now surrounding her. Then came reports of intense meetings with a brand rescue team. Yes, that is the phrase sources used. A full corporate-style reputation rebuild. The conversations, according to insiders, are about how she can financially survive once she leaves Royal Lodge, and how she can still generate income after losing her titles, her charity roles, and her place in the royal system. It is a complete restart. Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie are reportedly worried, very worried. Both daughters are said to be urging Sarah to step back, rebuild her public image, and create distance from the scandals engulfing their father and mother.
A children's charity is distancing itself from Sarah Ferguson. After an email the Duchess of York sent to convicted offender Jeffrey Epstein in 2011, calling him a, quote, supreme friend resurfaced, Child Hospice Center Julia's House has issued a statement confirming they'll no longer be associating with the royal.
And now, in what looks like a calculated rescue mission, Eugenie and Jack Brooksbank are offering their luxury Portuguese home as a safe place for Sarah to land. The Brooksbanks bought the Costa Terra property back in 2022. It is located in a celebrity-packed enclave on the Atlantic, complete with a golf course, spa, and some of the most expensive homes in Portugal. Buckingham Palace has pushed back on reports that Eugenie pays only a peppercorn rent for her London home, Ivy Cottage, but refuses to say whether she pays the full rate. Either way, this Portugal estate is clearly her and Jack's serious base. The fact that they are preparing it for Sarah tells you everything. They know January will be rough. They know the fallout will intensify, and they know she needs somewhere far from the British press. Although they have lived together for years, the cracks are now public. Andrew is moving to a smaller home on the Sandringham estate. He is still under massive pressure from the King, from the public, and from international investigations.
And the King has taken it further and stripped him of private funding in a bid to kind of smoke him out of Royal Lodge. But the trouble is, as we've often said on this programme, he has this cast iron lease on Royal Lodge that is going to, 170 odd years.
His finances are precarious. His reputation is broken. Sarah cannot follow him. Not only is she not invited, but the palace reportedly does not want her there. And Andrew himself has been described as too consumed by his own crisis to carry her as well. Recent reports say the pair have been having tense dinners, discussing their inevitable split, and what happens when the eviction date finally arrives. One source describes Sarah as panicked, anxious, and increasingly emotional about the reality that she and Andrew will physically part ways for the first time in decades. If she leaves the UK, the separation becomes even more permanent. Costa Terra is not a random choice. It is one of Europe's most exclusive hideouts. Former NBC boss Ted Harbert described it as the Hamptons of Europe. It has private beaches, private security, private chefs, and a social circle filled with Hollywood stars. For a woman who has just lost all her royal privileges and is desperate to keep her social status, it is the perfect place to blend in without being swallowed by scandal. In the past year alone, several new financial controversies involving Sarah have resurfaced. One of the biggest came from her involvement with Pegasus Group Holdings, a failed Bitcoin mining venture she was paid to promote. It promised massive development in the Nevada desert. Instead, investors allege the money vanished and the project collapsed. Sarah reportedly earned £200,000, plus a promised £1.2 million bonus before the company imploded. That story is now being recirculated because her credibility is collapsing at the exact moment the Royal Lodge eviction hits. Then you add the resurfaced stories about her book sales, her past business debts, and the ongoing question of how she has funded her lifestyle for so long.
I have no sympathy whatsoever for Sarah Ferguson and her friends and Andrew. I think they should stand down. It's time we remove the lot of them. There's a lot more than her, and they're all running scared, making excuses up now for what's been happening.
For someone who is about to lose her home, the financial pressure is mounting. This is another reason the daughters are stepping in. Sarah cannot afford a Windsor lifestyle without a Windsor roof. Let us shift back to Andrew for a moment, because his storm impacts hers. In the past few months, more damaging stories have come out. Staff have spoken again about his shocking behaviour behind closed doors. Former aides have repeated claims of his arrogance, his temper, and the infamous catchphrase he would bark at staff, which made headlines earlier this year. There are also new interviews from Andrew Lowney, the author of Entitled, who alleges Andrew's entitlement and patterns of bullying were visible from his school days. Lowney shared new examples from his research about Andrew's behaviour toward women, staff and colleagues. Add that to the ongoing pressure from the US Congress, which has begun demanding more transparency around Epstein's network. This is not a scandal that is fading. It is growing. And every time Andrew is mentioned, Sarah's name comes up next. New reporting claims Sarah has been spending her final days at Royal Lodge hiding in a private bar on the estate, confiding in staff and pouring out her fears. Sources claim she is terrified about losing her home, terrified about her finances, terrified about being pulled into the Epstein investigation again, and terrified about how this will affect Beatrice and Eugenie. Privately, she is said to be exhausted, overwhelmed, and heartbroken about leaving the estate she has considered her true home for years. Her friends say the Portugal plan is not a luxury holiday. It is a survival plan. Insiders are split. Some believe she will eventually return once the storm dies down. Others think this is the beginning of a permanent relocation, especially if Eugenie and Jack continue growing their life in Portugal. Sarah may eventually settle in southern Europe full-time. It is private, warm and far from the tabloids. It also keeps her close to Eugenie, who has become her emotional support as her entire UK life collapses. At the moment, nothing is certain except one thing. Sarah is leaving. This is a woman who once married into one of the most powerful families in the world. She had royal status, charity roles, and a permanent residence on the Windsor estate. Now she is being removed from her home, cut off from the palace, dropped by charities, shunned by TV networks, and forced to rely on her daughter to escape public humiliation. But many would agree this is long overdue. It is a fall from grace on a scale even she evidently did not predict. Her association with Epstein, her past financial controversies, her proximity to Andrew, her own leaked email, all of it has merged into a perfect storm. And now she is preparing to flee the country altogether. So this is where we stand. Sarah Ferguson is preparing to leave Britain in January, seeking refuge in a £3.6 million Portuguese villa, while her ex-husband moves to Norfolk under the watch of an increasingly impatient king. For the first time in almost 2 decades, the former couple is splitting physically and emotionally, and everything suggests this is only the beginning of a much bigger upheaval. If you want updates on the eviction deadline, the Portugal move, any appearances by Sarah, and the unfolding investigations affecting Andrew, make sure you are subscribed. This story is not slowing down. It is accelerating.